For decades, coffee was something you didn't think twice about when you went to the supermarket. It was a basic necessity, a morning habit, and a symbol of the American way of life. But by mid-2025, just a trip to Walmart was enough to leave consumers stunned in front of the coffee aisle. Folgers, a symbol of the working class, had topped $12 a can. Starbucks Pike Place, once a treat-yourself weekend indulgence, now cost $14.29. Even Great Value, which used to be the go-to choice for SNAP users, was no longer under $9. This wasn't just a price hike. It signaled a quiet yet profound shift in consumer class. Data from Fred shows that by June 2025, the average price of ground coffee reached $8.13 per pound, the highest it's ever been in U.S. history. But what's even more shocking are the increases in individual brands. Folgers Classic Roast, an increase of 49.7%. Great Value, a rise of 37.2%. Maxwell House, a 35% increase. Starbucks Pike Place Roast, up more than 43%. Nescafé Classico, increase of 50.7%. Universal price increases, no class is safe anymore. What makes the price hikes in 2025 even more dangerous than ever before is their widespread, all-encompassing nature. No one is exempt. The poor can no longer afford Great Value. The middle class has to think twice about Maxwell House. Seniors and retirees are turning their backs on Folgers. Young urbanites find that Starbucks at home is no cheaper than the store. Immigrant communities find Classico out of reach. There's no safety net, no options, no peace of mind. This isn't just normal price fluctuation. It's a full slide across the entire consumer class system, affecting every social group, no matter where they sit on the income scale. And the big question is, if even a cup of coffee can no longer be kept affordable, what will be the next thing to disappear? A can of coffee might only cost a few dollars, but a $3 to $5 increase per can, multiplied week after week, month after month, year after year, is gradually taking away consumers' ability to control their daily spending, from coffee to eggs, from vegetables to canned goods. When everything increases at once, even the best-prepared budgets will eventually crumble. And the worst part is, Americans are paying for a policy they didn't choose, don't fully understand, but still have to bear every morning when they just want a cup of coffee. Many people think the rise in coffee prices is simply part of the inflation cycle. But when we look at timelines, numbers, and specific decisions, the truth becomes clear and cold. This isn't the market's fault. It's a direct consequence of a politically motivated and calculated decision from the White House. In April 2025, the Trump administration began imposing tariffs ranging from 20% to 46% on coffee imports from Vietnam and Indonesia. These two countries account for over 35% of the total Robusta coffee, low-cost coffee which is popular in mass-market U.S. products. Then, just under 90 days later, the administration announced a 50% tariff on all coffee imports from Brazil, the country that supplies 38.6% of U.S. ground coffee. Brazil is not only the world's largest producer but also a stable supplier, serving as the central axis in the blending formulas for dozens of brands. This means nearly 75% of the total ground coffee supply in the U.S. is now subject to high tariffs, which has effectively doubled the cost of importing raw materials in less than 6 months. No business can absorb such a cost increase without passing it on to the consumer. Many still naively believe that greedy businesses are the reason for the rising coffee prices. But the truth is that coffee roasting companies in the U.S. can't change their supply sources, can't grow their own coffee, and have no viable alternatives. Just as businesses were trying to adjust to the new tariff policies, another bombshell dropped. Global coffee production plummeted dramatically. Brazil, the world's coffee powerhouse, faced a historic drought and winter frost, leading to a 15% drop in the 2024 to 2025 harvest. Vietnam also reported a slight decline due to unpredictable weather and rising fertilizer costs. According to the Financial Times, Arabica coffee futures surged to $3.48 per pound, the highest in more than 12 years. Meanwhile, the ICO Composite Index revealed that global coffee prices had increased by 76.4% in Q1 2025. This means each bag of imported coffee is now nearly twice as expensive as it was last year. For U.S. coffee roasters, this is a Catch-22 situation. Raw materials are both scarce and heavily taxed, while consumers cannot absorb any further price hikes. Yet they still have no choice but to raise prices because they have no other option. In the modern economy, few products are as tied to daily life as a morning cup of coffee. But when coffee prices surpass $10, this is no longer a minor expense. It forces people to change their habits, lifestyles, and even their sense of belonging to society. For example, a family of 4 consumes 3 to 4 bags of coffee per month. At today's average price of nearly $12 per can, they are spending about $48 each month just to maintain their morning coffee routine. It might seem small, but for households earning less than $2,000 a month, the federal poverty threshold, this is 2.5% to 3% of the entire family budget spent on coffee. Imagine, in some low-income households, coffee now takes up more of the budget than utilities. This is no longer a choice. It's a forced cost, making families decide coffee or food, coffee or gas for work. The price shock doesn't just affect families with young children. For seniors living on Social Security, around $1,300 a month, a Starbucks can going from $10 to $14 means 3.1% of their weekly spending vanishes, just to maintain 1 can of coffee. This is no longer a luxury. It's a painful sacrifice for the elderly who once saw their morning coffee as the last small joy they could hold on to after retirement. In Latino communities, especially in California, Texas, and New Mexico, Nescafé Clásico is more than just coffee. It's memory, tradition, and a connection between generations. But today, when a jar of Clásico rises from $6.29 to $9.49, a 50.7% increase, many immigrant families, manual laborers, or those living on minimum wage are forced to give up what was once a cultural cornerstone in their kitchens, not because they no longer enjoy it, but because they can no longer afford what once belonged to them. A July 2025 survey by Bankrate showed that 42% of Americans over 50 who once bought packaged Starbucks coffee are now considering quitting entirely. Not because their taste has changed, but because they feel pushed out of the very small things that once made them feel part of society. This disconnection isn't happening through protests. There aren't long lines of people protesting at Walmart, but it happens every time they walk past the coffee shelf, glance at the familiar product, and turn away. In a consumer society, the right to access familiar products is part of feeling like you belong. When the poor, elderly, and immigrants stop buying coffee, it's not just the loss of a product, it's the loss of dignity and the feeling that they still have some control over their lives. If you think today that it's just coffee, remember, when millions of people are forced to give up something small because of price increases, it's no longer a small issue. It's a sign of an economy that no longer serves the everyday person. No one expected a product like coffee, small, affordable, and widely consumed, to become a symbol of a silent but all-encompassing social crisis. But that's what's happening. And we're not talking enough about it. Coffee prices might not be breaking the financial markets, but they are breaking the psychological stability of the working class. When even a morning cup of coffee forces consumers to hesitate, reconsider, or give it up, that's an economy no longer working for the people.